And joining me here in the studio is Paolo Von Schirach. He's the president of the Global Policy Institute, a think tank here in Washington. Just want to get your thoughts on President Xi's state visit to South Africa so far. Billions of dollars in deals signed. China is South Africa's largest trading partner.
Well, and that's only half the story. The largest story is China in Africa, more broadly. Of course, South Africa being the host country of this particular summit and being one of the BRICS members, it makes, that's the headline. But I really think that it's important to stress that China has made significant investments throughout Africa, a country of 1 billion people, whether it's East, West Africa, Southern Africa, and certainly South Africa, it's a major target, as your reporting has just indicated. Major investments in manufacturing, in infrastructure, power generation, which South Africa needs very badly, and it can make all the difference because South Africa is not firing on all cylinders, and so Chinese investments and support can modify the situation quite a bit.
You mentioned South Africa. This is the 10th BRICS summit.
Yes.
And this began as a block of emerging and developing countries and economies. How would you say member countries are doing today?
Well, it's not exactly a homogeneous group, right? China clearly has taken off, second largest economy in the world, probably soon to overtake, at least in terms of global GDP, the United States. Brazil, in the midst of political turmoil, difficulties finding its own way, so to speak, in terms of development. Russia being in political troubles with Europe, sanctions, Crimea, Ukraine. We know all these stories. India certainly, on a different track, but not keeping the same momentum that China has demonstrated to be able to take. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, this is it was supposed to be kind of a relatively homogeneous group of solid, middle-income emerging economies, but I wouldn't say that they all functioning and driving at the same speed. China clearly the leader among them. And again, if we contrast China and Africa, Africa is probably one of the most significant recipients of Chinese investments, be it in infrastructure, in roads and railways and mining and what have you in Africa. So a very important economic partner for Africa.
The theme of this year's summit is inclusive growth, shared prosperity. And given the current global situation with trade, some countries, protectionist policies, what needs to happen for all of this to happen, for the theme to come together?
It's difficult. Again, in here, the United States, unfortunately, is not playing its traditional role of leader in terms of opening markets and creating and sustaining a rules-based system. America has kind of a beef a little bit with everybody, from Canada to Europe to China, as a matter of fact, and even Japan and Korea. And so now you have other attempts to form, if you wish, alternative forms of leadership. And China is emerging, actually, as a champion of free trade and in the context of Africa in particular, as a preferred trading partner. Now, what kind of rules and what kind of trade-offs are they going to figure out? That varies, I suppose, country by country. And clearly there's a huge inequality. If you look at bilateral trade relationships between a giant, which is China, and middle-income or smaller countries that depend heavily on foreign investments, and China is certainly a significant source of them.
All right, Paolo Von Schirach, always great to hear your insight. Thank you.
Thank you.